We're going to look at the development in Parliament this week. Very interesting development, and also a very interesting but not surprising turn of events. Now, that has to do with something interesting that happened on Wednesday, where a communique was issued by the New Patriotic Party warning and cautioning its members of Parliament not to participate in that vote of censure exercise, which was supposed to take place on Thursday. Now, it all comes in the wake of the attempts by the minority to have the finance minister removed as finance minister through a vote of censure. Now, in all of that, in Parliament, the Speaker said he's constituting an 8-member ad hoc committee to investigate the allegations that have been made against the finance minister, which is in line with Standing Orders 106 of the House. And the committee will be co-chaired by the Adansia Sukwa Member of Parliament, that's the Honourable Kobina Tahiru Hammond, we call him KT Hammond, and the Bolgatanga East, that's MP Dr. Dominic Ayene, and other members as the Okaikwe MP Patrick Yabuama, Andrew Ejapa Mesa, 2nd MP, Kwame Enyimedu Entry, Asante Akim Central MP, all of them MPP, Majority Caucus. And then the rest are Samuel Okujetwa Blackwell, not only Member of Parliament, Dr. Zanato Rollins, Clote, Kole MP, Bernard Ahiafo, Akachi South MP, all members of the National Democratic Congress Minority Group. So the constitution of the committee is pursuant to, as I did indicate, Standing Orders 1061 of the House, and which grants the legislature the mandate to basically consider such motions and come to a decision or refer it to a committee. And that's what the Speaker of Parliament has done. Remember that the Minority Chief Whip, Muntaka Mubarak, had serious issues with and serious reservations about the Speaker's interpretation of 101. In his view, there should have been a motion which should have been filed before the Speaker then gets somebody to second it. And then he goes ahead. That's, of course, if the House agrees, then the House will go ahead and agree for the setting up or the constitution of this article. So there was a little banter between the Minority Chief with Muntaka Mubarak, who's also the Member of Parliament for the Asawasi constituency, and the Speaker of Parliament. So what we intend to do this morning is that we're going to be playing you some videotapes of what happened in Parliament yesterday. Now we'll start with where the minority were about to move for the motion to be heard, and then the majority's reaction and what the Speaker of Parliament said. And then when I come back, I'll introduce my guest. Now watch this.
You remember when they indicated first and foremost, when there were 80 members, and they said that they had all resolved to make sure that Ken Ofori will go. And later on, no meaner person than the majority leader himself came to say that it is now the entire agenda of the entire caucus of the MPP. And that they were resolved that the finance minister must go because it's a disaster to this economy. What has changed?
The Article 36 of the 1992 Constitution, Directive Principles of State Policy, Article 36, Clause 1 and 2, said that the state shall take steps to make sure that they make decent accommodation, decent jobs, and all those things. So the economic decisions must be taken based on the Constitution. The MPP came out to say that the finance minister has failed in pursuing that. And based on that, Article 82 has given the opportunity, when the finance minister fails to make sure that he's running the economy well, we can go under Article 82 to impeach him.
I think the general principle, the general concern is that the minister must eventually exit. How he exits is what matters now. Maybe the majority feels that we should negotiate and find a common ground for him to exit. And so I think that I would advise that following the events of today, we should engage further because there's general consensus. And I think that if I were the minister, I would do the honorable thing. I mean, he's done his part, he's tried his best. If it's not working, you give way for others to come and try.
It was only a couple of days ago that they stood out here and spoke to you that they were going to remove him, the minister, exactly. And if he doesn't, business will not go on. What happened? Should I take what Chairman Sabonsi is alleged to have said, the honorable member for Swami, that some businessman has come through. Is that the case? I'm here representing the good people of Katu South.
Mr. Speaker, we've been counting and we think that today we are moving the motion. Mr. Speaker, 824 provides that a Minister of State, in respect of whom a vote of censure is debated, under Clause 3 of this article, is entitled during the debate. Mr. Speaker, the emphasis is mine. During the debate, to be heard in defense. Mr. Speaker, a vote of censure is therefore a formal statement of disapproval or condemnation in the form of a resolution that is adopted by a majority vote and in the context of Article 82 of the Constitution, 2/3 of all MPs voting by a secret ballot. Mr. Speaker, I concede that my gallant men and women here are not up to the 2/3 onerous threshold. That is why my colleagues opposite must let their vote count to save this country and for us to goodbye and exit the Honorable Minister for Finance from doing any further harm to the Ghanaian economy. Mr. Speaker, apart from that, inflation. He inherited inflation of 15.4%. Today it's 40.4%. Mr. Speaker, the exchange rate of the cedi, they inherited $1 at 4 Ghana cedis and indicated to all of us that they have the key to arrest the depreciation of the cedi. Today the cedi is falling and suffering from an epileptic fall. They've lost control of the depreciation. $1 is to 15 Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, and when you come to unemployment, probably it has increased from 5.53% to 13.9%. Mr. Speaker, so what has he to show? We are told that he did well, and that we are told that we should blame COVID and Ukraine. Did you borrow to support Ukraine? Did you borrow to support Ukraine? Did you borrow to support Ukraine? And you want us to accept that your reckless and irresponsible borrowing, which has led us to where we are. We are in a ditch. Mr. Speaker, the Ghanaian economy is in a ditch. Accept it or not, you may have to restructure debt in order to sustain this economy in the next 2-3 years. Mr. Speaker, let me thank you for the opportunity to move the motion that this honorable House passes a vote of censure on the Minister responsible for Finance, Mr. Ken Ofori Atta, in accordance with Article 82 of the 1992 Constitution on the following grounds. And Mr. Speaker, I intend to lead evidence to support those grounds. 1, his despicable conflict of interest ensuring that he directly benefits from Ghana's economic woes as his companies receive commissions and other unethical contractual advantage, particularly from Ghana's debt overhang. His unconstitutional withdrawals from the Consolidated Fund in blatant contravention of Article 178 of the 1992 Constitution, supposedly for the construction of a presence cathedral. 3, illegal payments of oil revenues into offshore accounts in flagrant violation of Article 176 of the 1992 Constitution. Deliberate and dishonest misreporting of economic data to Parliament. Fiscal recklessness leading to the crash of the Ghanaian cedi, which is currently the worst performing currency in the world. Alarming incompetence and frightening ineptitude, resulting in the collapse of the Ghanaian economy and an excruciating cost of living crisis. And gross mismanagement of the Ghanaian economy, which has occasioned untold and unprecedented hardships to Ghanaians. Mr. Speaker, let me start off by stating that this is the first time, probably under the Fourth Republic, for a vote of censure motion to be moved against a Minister of State, in accordance with Article 82 of the Constitution and Order 108 of the Standing Orders of Parliament.
I didn't get the opportunity or the privilege to attend PROSEC. Neither did I get the privilege to attend Atimota. But Mr. Speaker, for during the debate, I believe it means during the debate. And this is the time after seconding for the debate. And that's when the minister is supposed to be heard. Mr. Speaker, when you come to our standing orders, I want to refer, Mr. Speaker, the 106 and 108 of our standing orders. Mr. Speaker, order 106 is very, very, very clear, and 108. In the case of 108, Mr. Speaker, it is virtually a verbatim lifting of the 82(4) of the 1992 Constitution. The interesting thing, Mr. Speaker, is 106, and I read, the House may pass a resolution to remove the President, the Vice President, Mr. Speaker, and the Deputy Speakers, and a vote of censure on a Minister of State. And Mr. Speaker, my interest is here. The emphasis is here. The House may consider such motion and come to a decision or refer it to a committee on a motion made by any member. Mr. Speaker, with all respect and humility to you, in this text, nowhere did he say Mr. Speaker will refer the matter to any ad hoc committee. It says that the House may take a decision, and decision in this House, Mr. Speaker, is taken by vote. So if any member can move a motion that something should be referred to a committee, Mr. Speaker, it is for the decision of this House. That is what order 106 is saying, and therefore we will have to vote on it.
Honorable,
Listen to him. Sit down and listen.
you are completely out of order. Honorable member, I don't take my rulings lightly. Please. You are attacking my ruling, and I think you don't have that authority to do so. If you want to attack my ruling, come by a substantive motion. Your understanding of during the debate of matters before the House is not only during plenary session. At the committee level, what you do there is to debate. That is why when you agree at the committee level and you come and put across the case here, you don't waste time in debating again. Please, that is why the same rules that apply to plenary apply to committee level. When you talk about decision, yes, the decision is taken by the House. The decision is not taken by the Speaker. But it says, or refer it to a committee on a motion made by any member. The motion for censorship will have to be made by a member, and then you refer it to a committee. That is exactly what I said I'm going to do. Yes, you go on.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, with the greatest of respect to your office, the House is defined in these standing orders as Parliament. And Mr. Speaker, Parliament, it is this chamber with the 275 members. Mr. Speaker, when it refers to
Honorable member, please, the House cannot be constituted without a Speaker. You must understand that. It's when a Speaker is presiding that it becomes a House. You can't have this room with 275 members seated there and call yourself a House. You must move away from the understanding that you are the makers of everything here. I've been listening to you. Don't give me that temptation.
Mr. Speaker, I hope I have your permission to continue speaking.
Yes, you have my permission, but
Speaker,
I think that you have to withdraw
so
what you
long
said.
as I hold this
Honorable
standing
member,
order.
you have to withdraw it and apologize.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I'm happy you've given me the permission to speak. Mr. Speaker, one of the cardinals of democracy is to listen to each other, even when we disagree with each other. Mr. Speaker, on Order 106, I am reading to say the intention to refer
Honorable
this
member,
to a committee.
Honorable member,
is
resume
wrong.
your seat. Resume your
It
seat.
is wrong. It cannot be right. Member before the Speaker says it. And therefore,
resume your
Mr. Speaker, I beg to second the motion with a clear indication any attempt to move this matter to a committee will be a travesty of justice done to the chamber of this house. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, I direct that all what the minority chief has said, after I have told him to withdraw and apologize, be expunged from the records. I so direct Hansard expunge everything from the record. Minority inform you the composition of the committee. The committee will be an ad hoc committee specifically for this motion. And the committee is to present the report within 7 days. Within 7 days. The committee, in consultation with leadership, will be chaired by 2 co-chairmen. The co-chairmen are Honorable Dominic Ayine and Honorable K.T. Hammond. The other members are Honorable Samuel Ablakwa, Honorable Dr. Zaneto Ajiman Rollins, and Honorable Bernard Ahiafo. On the majority side, the other members are Honorable Yao Buama, Honorable Emmanuel Anyimedu, and Honorable Ajapa Mesa. So we have 8-member committee, and the clerk to the committee is in the person of Honorable member. Let me finish. When I compose and you are not satisfied, you can raise it. The clerk to the committee is Mr. Puaman.
To us, it is one of the bona fides of parliamentarians to raise matters of national concern. We are therefore not against them bringing matters of national concern for Parliament to consider. It is, however, our view, and as we stated on the floor, that due process must be followed. Rule of law include the rule that allows for fair hearing, giving notice, stating your issues, and allowing the affected party, who is your adversary in the matter, being a respondent, to also be heard. These are rights guaranteed by the Constitution. We do not want our approach in dealing with this issue to be misconstrued. We acted within the confines of the Constitution. We didn't say that we do not want them to raise issues against a minister of state in this government, and in particular our respected friend Ken Ofori. All that our side, the majority side, said and will say any day is that we should follow due process. I'm quite sure that you are all aware that some members of the minority are facing criminal trial. I believe that it is their legitimate expectation. They are given fair trial and they are heard instead of simply appearing before a court and the judge acting ultra vires of the Constitution. So we approached our issue on grounds of procedure, fair trial. And we are happy that after the beautiful discourse, the nature of which established democracies have practiced over the years, a committee has been constituted to enact the rule of procedure and determine issues of evidence which would form a prima facie ground for a report for the plenary. And for the purpose of further elucidation, you know that in the United States Constitution, there is a provision on bills of impeachment. A bill of impeachment basically similar to our censure or removal of somebody in public office. They have an enactment, a procedure for carrying out that exercise. Like Mr. Speaker said, this is a novelty. Although in the Constitution, Article 82, the provision is there, but we've really not touched it before.
Whoa, well, you saw that happen in Parliament. Very interesting development, wasn't it? And also very revealing indeed. That was the Member of Parliament for the Futu constituency. That's Alexander Afenyomark. He was also the Deputy Majority Leader holding a news conference in the aftermath of that drama that ensued in Parliament. The minority had sought to get their vote of censure against the Finance Minister upheld by the Speaker of Parliament. But it turns out that the Speaker of Parliament says, no, that's not the way to go. Let's give the Finance Minister, or let's grant the Finance Minister the rule of natural justice, with application of the rule of natural justice, the opportunity to be heard. You have accused them on 8 grounds, things that you claim he has done. Give him the opportunity to be heard, and after which the report of that 8-member ad hoc committee will then constitute what we call a prima facie document. It will be brought before the House, it will be debated, and a vote will be cast. And that's where the Speaker of Parliament is coming from. But also, there are others who have actually contested the ruling by the Speaker of Parliament. And you saw the Member of Parliament for the Asawase constituency, was also my Minority Chief Whip, Muntaka Mubarak, strongly expressing his reservations about that. So we're going to get into all of that. We're students of parliamentary business. And so we're going to get there's actually a Member of Parliament who is with us here this morning. He will be schooling us on what happened in Parliament so that we get a better understanding. But before he comes in and before I introduce my resource persons, did you see that letter, that statement by the New Patriotic Party whipping its majority caucus in Parliament, asking them not to participate in Thursday's proceedings in Parliament and not to participate in that vote of censure? But interestingly, Thursday morning, you had the famous 86 also holding a news conference even before the parliamentary business began, asking that the president should not allow the finance minister to come and present this year's budget because they feel that there's some elements of bad faith being exhibited by the president, because that's what the president told them. We'll also be looking at all of that on Inside Pages today. Now, the WhatsApp line is 0249 155 646. 0249-155-646. You can see that beautifully displayed on the screen. So from my immediate right is the Member of Parliament for the Botiano English Amount from a very good friend of mine, hard-working Member of Parliament, the Honourable Sylvester Matthew Tete. Good morning, sir. Thanks for joining us on Inside Page. It's always a pleasure having you here.
Thank you, Moro.
And also on my immediate left is the former Member of Parliament for the Adenta constituency, so he's very familiar with the parliamentary rules and regulations and so on. And also, he's currently the NDC's director in charge of special duties. That's the Honorable Kojo Edu Asare. Good morning, sir. It's good to have you here.
Good morning, Moro.
Wonderful. You're looking good, though.
Thanks so much.
Always looking good. No wonder you're called Swagger. And
that-
also, I know you have something to say, but when I'll allow you to say that shortly. Michael Niabe is with FES, that's the Friedrich Ebert Foundation, but FES for short. He's also here with us. Michael, good morning. It's good to see you.
Good morning, Mero. Good to see you.
And it's always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
Wonderful. Honorable, so you wanted to say something?
Oh, I was just going to say that you were talking about
Yes.
swag issues.
Yes,
And I
swagger.
said, under this condition,
It's very difficult to swag.
you dare not.
And the NDP
You need to use
government.
you need to keep that money for
Right.
all other things,
Yeah.
just to keep body and soul
For
together.
a rainy day.
Yeah,
Because anything can happen.
it's
You
tough.
could wake up tomorrow and
Sly,
fuel is
Sly
gone out.
knows that so
Right.
well.
So he understands where you're coming from.
Exactly.
Okay. But he's in power.
Well, even they are not able to swag as much as they did in the first 10. Yeah.
Honorable, he says you guys can't swag again because things are rough.
I will not play the ostrich. Any member of government to play ostrich that all is well.
Right.
Or
Because
cannot
all is
be
not
said to be well with us. And the president has owned up to that. Every appointee and any body in government, from the one man to the last person, has owned up to this challenge that indeed times are not normal. So any communicator or any party official that sought to rationalize that, perhaps the person may be living in a different continent, as it were. But of course, times are hard for all of us. It has a huge toll. Last Tuesday, I made a statement here that I parked my V8. And I've gone for my mom's very small car because I can't afford to buy fuel for 10,000 cedis a month, where my take-home salary is not up to that much.
Okay.
So it tells you, means I shouldn't even feed myself, not to think of feeding my immediate family or anybody that depends on me as a result of the current situation we face as a country. So seriously, nobody should tickle himself and say. And I kept talking about this for people to adjust our lifestyle, that we can't continue to live the way we used to live. And I think that manna will fall from heaven. It is not like that. We should be able to change the psyche. Of course, today I'm visiting parts of my constituency that small car cannot take me. So I can manage my V8 today and go to those places. But when I drive from home to Parliament, to and fro every day, of course, it makes a lot of savings to use a very small car. So we need to change how things everywhere. If you go to the US today, the Lincoln Navigators that we know, they've resized them. They've all been resized in the very smaller engines. Unlike the 6.0 engines that we know them to be. And they are dumping all those huge cars on us here, but forgetting that the same car with the same function or better have been resized into a smaller engine size, all because of the current situation. I remember when the credit crunch came, that is where President Obama then told the American car manufacturing companies that we're going to put money into the automobile industry, but everybody should come with a different size, design engine size, because it doesn't make sense to be driving a 4.0, 6.0 engine car. It has a huge toll on all of us. So clearly, for government or the Ministry of Agriculture to come to the level of bringing foodstuff to the ministry for people to purchase, it tells you we are aware that the times are quite difficult. So clearly, I will say so. But of course, somebody like Honorable Swagger, a private business person, with or without government, the environment has made it clear. I mean, you can see when he steps out, his shoe alone is enough to fuel my car for the week.
You mean he's responding positively?
He's responding
business
positively to. But in as much as he's living well, he's taking good care of himself, should not be an expenditure that will stretch him to go into his future savings. Because whatever you spend out of the ordinary today, it goes to affect your kids and your future retirement.
Now, Honorable, flowing from what you just said about how you've had to make certain changes as far as your lifestyle is concerned. So now you're using a smaller vehicle.
Right.
Because you want to save some more money. You don't
Right.
I had a member of parliament, I think it was Abdallah, let me ask my lead producer, Abdallah. Ampem Dako.
Oh, the
Something Ampem Dako. The Sojaman MP. Yes.
Sojaman MP.
Yes, he made a very interesting suggestion. And his suggestion was simple that, look, instead of always coming to parliament from Monday to Friday, why don't in fact, I think it was an appeal to the Speaker of Parliament.
Yeah.
Speaker of Parliament, why don't you just give us just 2 days in a week or 3 days in a week? We don't mind sitting for 8 hours and exhausting the business of the day or finishing the business of the day instead of this every day coming every day. Because Charlie, we are spending so much of fuel.
It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. To be honest with you, I had even expanded the argument on another platform.
Right.
That I agree with him in total. That look, the vulnerable ones are the fresh graduates who are doing their national service, who are given 600 Ghana cedi as an allowance. The person commute from Botiano to the ministries to perform his functions as a service personnel. Within 2 weeks, that 600 is gone. Means the person will not feed him
On
or herself.
transport only.
So I have suggested that the service personnel should be made to do twice a week or do the service within their vicinity.
Right, makes sense.
It makes sense. I've said so. And even workers, those who can work from home, should be encouraged to work from home.
Working remotely.
Remotely, we should do that. And again, STC Metro Mass should acquire more buses, advantage point where people come to the city and go back with a fixed rate bus ticket to purchase for the week. Or it can be directly deducted from source so that you park your car if you so subscribe to it. If you go to Adenta, you know how many people come from Adenta every morning to the city center to work. You buy your bus ticket, you can board the bus to Adenta. That should be very nice buses that everybody will be comfortable to board. So these are suggestions we are making in these difficult times so that we can all lessen the burden on people. To be honest, if you look at young, vulnerable girls in our society today, service personnel wanting to look very good, presentable. In some offices, they will prescribe an Atta how you should dress, uniform for you, how you should dress. Where are they going to get the money?
Right.
You may go to a family, perhaps that's the first ever graduate from the family.
Imagine from the family.
The mother don't have, the father don't have. What happens to this young girl out there? They become vulnerable and susceptible to societal attacks. So these are conversations that should be have devoid of political inclination. These are hard realities of our time. Look, now ordinarily, people who wouldn't have called an MP for an assistance, they are reaching out. And me, people I would not ordinarily ask for support, I'm asking them for support. Not because of perhaps of myself alone, but to be extended to other people. Christmas is around the corner. Have you asked yourself, if you at this level, you find it difficult, how many more vulnerable people, families are out there?
True.
And these are not matters that are happening exclusively to the jurisdiction of this country. Almost everywhere, advanced jurisdictions are happening. It tells you me. My take is that we are not even deep in it yet. This crisis will usually take a little time. So your vulnerabilities, that's why I keep advocating that people should check our lifestyle, how we organize our funerals, our church services, and the number of times people are asked to make contributions and donations at churches. We should look at it.
Right. Okay.
Churches must go into agriculture.
Yeah.
They must take ventures that will support the basic things that we need in life. And it's interesting if we change the conversation from the usual extreme. Look, in an event that political party changes, it's the same situation you meet. It won't be different. Today, when I go to the pump, somebody sent me a text. You are in parliament and you are telling us you cannot buy fuel. You come and meet us. You people are liars. I said, look, you know I've declared my salary openly. I know what I take home after all the deductions. And I know that if I continue buying this amount of fuel, my salary cannot support it. It means I have to go into my extra business coffers to be able to support fuel. Can I do something extra to reduce the burden? It's a personal decision.
Okay.
So clearly, it is true. Times are difficult, but we must take pragmatic measures like the Honorable MP suggested. I support him.
Right. That's fine. So we'll get to the business of the day and to look at the more vexed issue about what happened in Parliament. So I'll start with him again because he's still in Parliament and he witnessed everything that happened there. Now, Honorable, your side, that's the majority side, and the minority side, you want one thing. The ultimate objective is quite clear on all of us.
Right.
Your objective is to jettison the finance minister. because you say the finance minister is not living up to the bill. Why all these technicalities that we saw in Parliament? Help us understand what happened in Parliament. You have a common goal. So why don't you support each other and achieve it?
It is not the same. Let me go back and good morning to our viewers and good morning to my co-panelists and your good self, Moro. Let me use this opportunity to send a message of condolences to people who are bereaved, more especially the Ochiame of Amamfrom, who will be laid to rest today. I'll be going there. And then to my brother, Neilante Vanderpoy, the ranking member of the local government committee, whose father is being laid to rest today. And also to our own Hakman Owusu Ajiman, who is burying the wife today. So these are funerals that I'll be attending today. I send my condolences, and to those I've not been able to mention who are watching, I send same message of condolences to them today as we mourn. And of course, those who are also getting married and naming ceremonies, I share in their joy today. Moro, it is not the same thing we are all seeking. People must get it clear. Yes, the majority caucus started with 80 plus members calling for the resignation of the president, dismissing the finance minister and the minister of state at the Ministry of Finance. The NDC, what they are seeking to do is to criminalize the work of the finance minister. To the extent that if you look at the motion it took to Parliament, called him a thief.
No, hold on. Abdallah, can we have the grounds upon which the minority is
I'm saying
that
in
vote
quote.
of
I said
censure?
in quote.
Yes, no,
If you
hold
look
on.
at the grounds.
So let me read this for the sake of those
Right.
who have not followed it. So the first grounds is this: despicable conflict of interest ensuring that he directly benefits from Ghana's economic woes as his companies receive commissions and other unethical contractual advantages, particularly from Ghana's debt overhang. That's 1. 2, unconstitutional withdrawals from the consolidated fund in blatant contravention of Article 178 of the 1992 Constitution, supposedly for the construction of the President's Cathedral. Number 3, illegal payment of oil revenues into offshore accounts in flagrant violation of Article 176 of the 1992 Constitution. Abdallah, please raise it. Good. The second, the one following it is deliberate and dishonest misreporting of economic data to Parliament and fiscal recklessness leading to the crash of the Ghana cedi, which is currently the worst performing currency in the world. And alarming incompetence and frightening ineptitude resulting in the collapse of the Ghanaian economy and an excruciating cost of living crisis. There's also gross mismanagement of the Ghanaian economy, which has occasioned untold and unprecedented hardship. There's a seventh one, and Abdallah, I'm sure you ran through the seven, because there's 7 reasons that the minority has given. But this one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So yes, when we get a 7th one, we'll read it to you. But I don't know where there's issues about stealing comes in here.
No, read all the grounds.
Okay.
They are impugning the integrity of the finance minister
Okay.
to say that unethical contractual advantages, particularly from Ghana's debt overhang. These are serious matters.
The borders on crime.
But it's on crime. Serious. So you could see malice, you could see conspiracy, you could see people going after Ken with no basis. There are no documents to support this. And of course, we in the majority will not be a party to these grounds to call for the censure. We've made it clear. So for me, the basis they are calling for, it's nothing but malice, laced with political expediency in an attempt to smear you and get political advantage of it.
There's one other reason.
Look, we had Ghana's cedi being the worst performing currency in the history of this country before. The worst in the world before, under there. So all these grounds and the things they are saying, for me,
you do not agree?
Yes, I don't agree with them. The situation is bad, but for you to say that the man has benefited unconstitutional withdrawal from the consolidated fund in blatant contravention of Article 178 of the 90. Look, if somebody has unconstitutionally moved money from the consolidated fund, you know what to do. This is not the medium, how to go about it. For you to say illegal payment of oil revenue, what do you mean illegal payment? I mean, these are grounds that anybody knows is politically motivated and is laced with malice. That is why we can't support it. So we made it clear.
But Honorable, there's a convergence point. The convergence point is the alarming incompetence, because that's what your group has said. Your group has said the man is not fit to be there.
My brother, if the man is not fit to be there, he's our man. We have said, and we have had that conversation, that the president, he should resign, or the president. Look, when Kwasi resigned in the UK, doesn't mean he has committed any crime. The exigency of the time would demand some changes, and we call for the changes. It doesn't mean that Mahan's committed the crime they are alleging he's committed.
So your point is, supporting the motion would have meant that you agree with all these things that are said against the finance minister.
Exactly. That's why we don't agree. And we made it clear. So that is the reason why we can't support them. So they have a different intent, and that is the reason why we won't support them. But we've made a call that the president should dismiss him or he resign honorably, the two of them. We've made that point clear. Okay. So for me, it is not the same thing we are all saying. They are impugning the integrity to the extent that is even bordering on criminality. And we don't support that argument.
So are you happy with the speaker's ruling on the matter?
Well, I would say I'm happy, and it's binding on all of us.
Right.
Simply because if you look at Article 82 of the 1992 Constitution, it spells out clearly how a censure could be brought to Parliament, signed by 1/3 of members of Parliament. The motion is moved and seconded, a debate is debated upon, and then a ruling is reached. Then Order 108 also spells out the same procedure. But when you go to Order 106, it talks about the president, the vice president, the speaker, and the minister. The Order 108 is silent on the president, the vice president, and then the speaker of parliament. It talks about only the minister. But the same Order 106, it's the same standing orders, Order 106, talks about president, vice president, the speaker, and then a minister.
Right.
So reading them together, the speaker ruled. If you look at the Order 106, it talks about a motion and then a decision will be reached to refer the matter to a committee of parliament.
Yes.
So it's in the order, standing orders of parliament. Then Muntaka was arguing solely on the Order 108. So the speaker drew his attention that don't read that in isolation. Read Order 106 in addition. And you come to conclusion that Parliament has not erred by referring the matter to the ad hoc committee. So clearly, it's a matter of not understanding the speaker, and it's normal that you can, as a matter of fact. But of course, in the same standing orders, there's a procedure to arrest the decision of the speaker. And the speaker said, you know
come
what
by
to
a
do.
Motion.
Come by a proper motion to arrest the decision of the speaker. That's what Muntaka didn't understand. And you could see that the minority leader and leadership of parliament are in agreement with the speaker. Ordinarily, we would have seen Haruna Idriso coming. In parliament, every morning before sitting resumes, there's always speakers meeting. The leadership meets and then decide on how business of the day on the order paper should be conducted. From what I saw on that day and all that, it's obvious that some consensus might have been reached behind the scenes before we got to the floor. You realize that both sides of the House leadership has not contested except Muntaka. And it's obvious that if a member of that level, at that level, feels strong about the position taken by the caucus, will come and stake his position on the floor. He's made his point. But all the point is made. The speaker had ruled that should be expunged from the records of parliament. So all that he has said, he has no substance. He will not find expression in the Hansard or in the parliamentary records today nor ever.
When you say it will not find expression in the parliamentary Hansard, does that mean that it won't be recorded?
Yeah, it won't be recorded.
No. My point is, it won't be recorded that the speaker had actually ordered.
Yes. So what they will say is that the speaker had ordered that what the honorable minority chief whip has should be expunged.
Would they repeat what he said?
No, they won't.
So what he says, nobody can actually quote
No.
So
No,
you cannot, for instance, make an argument standing on what
exactly,
Musa said.
but it will be. You
But
see, the
once he says it is expunged,
Yes.
it's deemed not to be part of the records.
Yeah,
No.
but I think
It's
it
deemed
makes
not to have been
sense.
part
It
of the
makes
records.
sense for what he said to be recorded in a Hansard. Because on what basis are you going to say this has been expunged?
Yes.
What has been expunged? Someone who is new to parliamentary
Yes,
proceedings. I pick the Hansard.
what they don't want you to see is that this is part of official records of the House. No, it won't be part of official records. That's the point I'm
Yeah,
trying
but
to make.
you see what he said.
as to-
the Hansard is supposed to capture proceedings of the House.
Exactly.
Okay, as in
It-
text, as in a text
the
form.
text will come.
Excuse me, as in a text form.
Okay.
Okay. So granted, you were recording, as we just saw. Okay. Why didn't they edit that bit so it doesn't even appear on TV? Do you understand?
I get it.
So in the text form, it has to be recorded. Just that portion of everything he said is expunged. It means that nobody can make reference to that particular
will be
statement.
in
It will
the-
be there.
So
You
there will
read
be a
it.
textual evidence of what happened.
Exactly.
But then you cannot stand on it as
Not
grounds
at
to make
all.
a case.
Not at all.
Like what Ablako was seeking to do
Exactly.
with something that happened in 1999 between, how do you call it, the sitting president
Right.
and what's the name of the Kwame Pepra when he was the finance minister. You can't do that with what happened today because it's been expunged. It's not something that is officially recognized,
Right.
even though it is there.
Exactly.
I think
So,
that's the thing.
so clearly,
Okay.
I think that is a matter of interpretation, and we are all led or guided by the speaker. The speaker moderates and interprets the standing orders, as it were.
Okay.
But it doesn't mean his interpretation and his rulings.
Okay.
If you disagree, there's a way you deal with the speaker's.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions for you. I'll
Right.
get the Honorable Kujo Eduasare's preliminary comment on what he also saw or heard, depending whether he was watching on his phone or was listening on radio or was watching TV or what he accepts of it. But I have two quick questions for you before I come back to you after Michael has had his bit. My first question, Honorable, to you would be that why wasn't the finance minister in Parliament, as has been in line with parliamentary practice and tradition? The finance minister, when a matter has been brought before the House against you, you must be there, as we've seen in the past. The finance minister wasn't there. That's my first question to you.
Right.
Two, why is it that even though your party's leadership had issued a statement that don't be part of the vote of censure, you decided to be part, or you decided to present yourselves in the House, you participated in the debate? Yes, it didn't get to the point where voting was supposed to have happened. Does it mean that you have ignored or you made nonsense of what your party leadership had said, or what was the strategy, if any, if you intend to share?
No.
So those are my questions to you. So I'll come back to you, so if you can
Okay,
chew on
fine.
that. Yeah, so, Honorable, you watched it yourself. What do you make of all that happened in Parliament?
Well, Moro, I think we all know the background to this whole story. We've had a finance minister whose performance over the past few years, especially in the last 2 years, has brought the entire country on its knees. And the entire country, except for those who probably may be living in some other part of the world where they don't feel what the normal Ghanaian or every Ghanaian is going to or having to go through. So it has become imperative to the extent that the majority itself, 80 plus members, would call for his removal or his own resignation. The challenge here is how the same group of people who are calling for his removal and resignation will take this stance. Of course, listening to Sly this morning, he's trying to rationalize the reason they've taken those stance. I'm not sure they are oblivious of the fact that the items listed that you just read to all of us, they are true.
He says there's no evidence.
Well, it is up to the
minority,
the committee that has been set up to look into it. I'm
Right.
sure whether there's any evidence or not, it will show. But for me, even as an ordinary citizen, I can read these things and know that there are likely evidences that can be brought to bear on these cases. They being oblivious of it does not suggest to me that this man will have an easy way to exonerate himself from the allegations that have been raised, because they are serious ones, and probably more serious ones that, if they are allowed, probably these are the ones they've started with, but if the procedures will permit them to add more, I'm sure we could even line a lot more up. Because he was also making reference to Kwesi Kwarteng or Kweku
Yes,
Kwarteng.
the Kwesi Kwarteng scenario. Yes.
Please, the two scenarios are not
same.
similar in any form or fashion. And you can't draw parallels at all. Okay, the UK one has to do with a policy that,
did not find favor with the people.
Exactly. Okay, that is totally a different thing. And even then, under such circumstance, look at the alacrity with which he had to. And in this case, this man doesn't want to move in our case. And the president is his chief praise singer, cheerleader. He is the best, and all the superlatives of this world have been showered on him. Whereas his own minority representatives in parliament, or majority representatives in parliament, are calling for his removal. So for me, the parliamentary procedures, yes, there are technicalities that, just like any law court, the lawyers and members of parliament can find ways and means to use articles of both the standing orders and constitution to argue their case. And the speaker also has his ruling prerogatives. So those are not the real cases. For me, the speaker should be mindful to ensure that they carry the sense of the entire country with them in this matter. It cannot just be one of those issues that we leave it to Parliament to handle and that's it. This is a case that every Ghanaian wants to, or is going to follow to its logical conclusion. And Parliament alone. And for me, where the Chief Whip also came in, and you could tell the argument on both sides between him and the speaker. And the anger from the speaker. I think the speaker, if I have a little advice for him, he should manage his temper a little bit. Of course, as a speaker, there are times where your people will irritate you with words and even comments from other parts where there's not even a microphone. But that is why you are the speaker. You must have what it takes. And for him, with his vast experience in Parliament and having given other speakers
a hell of a time.
Exactly. During his heydays as either the minority leader or the majority leader. At least that should also give him enough capacity and what it takes to accommodate pressure and sometimes some of those irritating conversations that go on the floor. So he should calm down. And because we are watching, there are cameras sitting on them till proceedings are over. And sometimes all the arguments they put out there, whether he's making, in quotes, sense or not, we are also listening. And it doesn't sit only with him to say what is right. Some of his decisions could be wrong, and people have the right to even criticize, including members of parliament.
But let me ask you this. Sorry for interrupting you, but you've been a member of parliament before.
Yeah.
Do you necessarily have to come by motion if you disagree with the speaker, or you have some latitude to draw the speaker's attention to some aspect of the standing orders that you believe the speaker is not getting right?
I think
Is it normal parliamentary practice?
I think at all times, the coming by emotion becomes more appropriate.
Okay.
Okay, and it also insulates you from putting yourself out, like putting yourself in trouble, so to speak.
Okay.
You understand? But
I think a quick one.
Okay.
See, whilst debate is ongoing, you can draw the speaker's attention to some provisions or statute
Okay.
or some previous decisions.
Okay.
Yeah, conventions.
Conventions
That's acceptable.
Yes. But once the speaker has ruled,
Oh, okay.
yes.
That's the difference.
Yes. So if you observe, when all these things came to an end, the veteran, former leader on your side,
Avoka.
Oh,
Avoka.
Cletus
Cletus
Yes.
stood on his feet and drew the speaker's attention to Order 108.
Okay.
That it should be debated once the motion has been moved and seconded. It should be debated. Then the speaker drew his attention to Order 106 before the speaker finally gave his ruling. But if the speaker has given his ruling,
Of course.
it's final. The only means to
Challenge
challenge it is
to
come by
come by
proper
motion.
motion. Proper
Yeah.
motion.
Okay.
Yes.
Honorable, please go ahead.
Yeah,
Right.
so I think that's been
Okay.
properly,
So that's
yeah.
settled. Yeah.
Yeah. So, long and short, the Speaker's ad hoc committee has been set up. And for me, I think that 7 days should be able to come up with, or after the seventh day, they should be able to come up with a report that on both sides, the minority's allegation versus the minister's responses, it will be out there. Is it going to be in camera?
In fact, I've
Yes.
heard some George, the MP for Pram Pram, actually suggesting or recommending
It was
that the
overruled.
proceedings be telecast live.
No.
For everybody to see.
The speaker didn't.
He didn't agree to that.
I agree to that.
That's
Wow.
interesting. But would you?
It's definitely.
It's just like any committee's sitting. This is not a public accounts committee that a convention had been that it should be telecasted live.
But if you listen to what Honorable Kojo Eduasari said, he said this is a different kind of, it's a different kettle of fish because the interest of the nation is so much, how do you call it? It's so much attached to this matter.
There's no
to the
matter.
point where
There's no
to the
matter.
point where no, because we're all facing the economic crisis. Even though I have my own reservations about whether it's Ken that should be, but whatever it is, he's saying that look, the nation wants to know what the fate of Ken Ofori-Atta will be. So why not? Make it a live telecast. But anyway, please go ahead.
Right. Whichever way, if it's a normal committee
Whether
sitting,
off or in camera.
there will be cameras there. They may not be made live for us to watch, but at least we can get snippets of it to watch probably during news items and so on. So, and reporters, newspapers, others will be there. We'll get the opportunity to listen, get to hear the responses that will come out. Whichever way, nobody thinks Ken Ofori-Atta should be given a day more to spend at the finance ministry. I believe that is a conclusion that even 86 members of parliament have drawn. And for me, these gymnastics that my colleagues are playing with technicalities of, please, meet them on the side of parliament and talk to them off record. They corroborate these lists on their own with you. Okay, what's the difference? You want the person out. On what condition? What is your own allegation against him?
That he's not fit to be there.
Fit in what sense? You cannot just say someone Moro is not fit to be in his seat and just the next day Metro management says he's out. You should be able to spell out.
Well, they claim that the finance minister is not competent enough to handle the finance ministry, so they want somebody to take over, and the person must be a member of parliament.
Yes. What is their evidence of that incompetence?
Well, they say, okay, so here's the thing. They say their constituents are telling that they are feeling the pain of the economic crisis.
Yes.
And so they should go and tell the president that he should relieve the finance minister of his post as finance minister so that can bring some relief to them. They believe it will bring some relief to them. So they only came and communicated what their constituents have told them to the president.
Right.
And the president said, okay, come and let's meet. And we saw all that happened afterwards.
Right.
So they are only responding to what their constituents are telling them. In fact, in some cases, some of the MPs have said that their constituents are threatening that if the finance minister is not relieved of their post, they should even come back to the constituency.
I agree. Yes, they
So,
should.
so you see, their job is on the line.
So, but for
Yes.
their constituents pushing them to get the finance minister out
Yes.
or to
they wouldn't on their own accord to do that.
Oh wow!
Yes.
So that is the position.
Exactly, that's the
No,
position.
ask. I want
Yes,
you.
honorable, isn't it? That's how the constituents are saying that. Yes, that's it.
Sly, is that the position of?
Yes.
You see, the swagger is.
No, don't worry. I'll come. No, because Michael hasn't spoken yet. I beg you. Michael hasn't spoken yet. So no, my swagger. Swagger is set in the trap. You fall in.
Because
Please
no,
don't. He's a very experienced communicator. He knows exactly what he's doing.
I would decline that.
Please don't fall in that trap.
No,
This man, you bad man.
because
But swagger,
yes.
Let me tell you something.
Yes.
What we sought to do.
Honorable, I beg you, don't come
No,
in.
it's more internal, and your
Yes.
commentary will not force us to discuss our internal.
Oh, okay, no problem.
That we won't do it.
Saga, please land so
You
that
see-
Michael can come in.
You see,
Yes.
for me, if you are a politician, stand for what you believe in. That is my personal view.
Okay.
And as an individual in a party, I have had occasions where my whole party is looking at a certain direction, and I have stood on the ground to the wire, to the extent that you were here, you heard you remember the STX story. You don't remember that one?
Yeah.
STX.
Right.
Yes. When I said they should abrogate that contract, and it became a big issue here because my party was not in favor of it. They were pushing it, and I think Bagbin was then the Minister for House Works and Housing. And I was in Parliament then. What he did to me, I wouldn't forget. But later, he came back, withdrew the contract, cancelled it, and he saved us another term because that thing was pushing us straight into opposition before the president died then. So sometimes if you are convinced on a particular issue, you must stand your ground. And I like one guy, is it Andy Akubi?
Yes, Andy Akubi. Yeah. He's the one who's been leading the charge.
Yes. I think, but for him, some of his colleagues would have chickened out in this whole thing. Because definitely the presidential whip is powerful, it's so strong, and it can always be used to cajole members. Of course, the party, what do they call it? The party structure itself. Machinery is also being used to whip them. This letter you just made reference to and all of that. You see, so for me, this is where as individual members of parliament who claim their constituents are the ones pushing them to do, then they should stand for their constituents and defy whatever their party is saying. Because, wait a minute, yes, they are in a party, but it is their constituents that put them there. So please, this pussyfooting business must stop. You better go join the minority, have your reservations on whatever the.
Honorable, are you saying they should ignore?
I'm not saying they should ignore. I said they should express their reservations on whichever clause that they think they don't agree with. Do you understand? So some way, somehow, you have extricated yourself from some of the allegations leveled. But in principle, you want the man removed. And an opportunity has been offered you to do so by law.
But they have a problem with the process.
Which process?
They're saying that, yes, we all agree that, in principle, that the finance minister must be given a sack. Our reason for wanting the finance minister to go is not the same reason that you're espousing. You say you've given 7 grounds, some of which border on criminality. Now, like Afenyo Makin said, if the reasons that border on criminality can only be sat on or can be adjudicated by a competent court of law, not Parliament. Now, so you cannot ask us to come and endorse
I have
and bless
You
the
didn't-
grounds upon which you say.
You
So,
did not listen to me.
Okay.
I said that
yes,
there are 7 allegations that have been leveled.
against the finance minister
Yes. You said some of them border on,
criminality. Yes.
So, just what's the there's some
Amend
you know
Amend it.
not amend, like extricate yourself.
Okay.
Or that's a phrase that we use, common phrase that we use. You won't free
Absolve?
whatever.
Okay. Or exclude yourself.
Exclude yourself from those. If there are 3 out of 7,
Okay.
you can say no. This 1, 2, 3, we don't subscribe to it.
Okay.
But on this
Or you
and
ring
that
fence
ground,
it. You ring fence it.
whichever way.
Right.
But you see, in principle, we want to remove the man.
Okay.
And you think removing him will bring a certain relief to your constituents.
Right.
So you have also noticed that your president, or our president, who is your party leader, is trying to find ways to put
buy time.
spokes in your wheels or whatever you call it. So this is an opportunity. You are there to represent your people. Now, whose interest, or on whose interest are you fighting? Or in whose interest are you fighting? Fighting against the allegations and the censure in the first place. So
Okay.
I think they are totally contradicting themselves.
So honorable, if I understand what you're saying,
Yes.
you mean the minority? Sorry, the famous 86.
Yes.
Who say they are representing the interests of the rest.
Yes.
That's fine. What you're saying is that they could have taken advantage of this opportunity to say that, you know what, we
But the
agree.
process is in motion.
No, I'm coming.
You
We
can't
agree with the
truncate it and
minority
expect
group
us to join you.
to the extent that
No.
there are questions about the competence or otherwise of the finance minister.
Exactly.
The rest we don't agree.
Exactly.
So on that basis, we support you.
Exactly my point.
that's
And who
fine.
is leading in this
So-
case? No, before you go, who is
Yes.
leading in this case? We has taken the lead. Don't forget our presser came before the minorities motion came.
No,
No, that was
the
an
minority
ambush.
had no. The
That was an
minority
ambush.
What are you talking about?
It was an ambush.
You're indicating-
Because the very day, you don't spend hours. No.
Please
It
get
was
it right.
an ambush.
No,
Let me
what
tell you
do
what
you mean
happened.
an ambush?
They knew.
Parliament is a house of records.
They knew.
You can't tell me
They
it's an
knew
ambush. What is an
the
ambush?
minority was coming with the censure.
How do you say so?
Because you know you
How
can't
do you
just
say
come
so?
with the censure
How do you
with
say
your
so?
with
So
word
he's
of mouth.
entitled to his own theory.
Do you understand?
But
2 hours
No.
prior to that,
Ojo,
they went
Ojo.
and held a quick press conference with this news.
No.
And then 2 hours later, the censure was laid on.
No, but listen.
It was an ambush. They just took advantage
No,
of it.
but that's
I'll come back to you. I beg you.
Yeah,
I'll come back to
I'll
you
deal with
because
it.
Michael has to come. Michael, I mean, I'm sure you also saw it. You read it. You have you've seen snippets of it, etc. You come more from the governance point of view, and for that matter, for what we are practicing, which is democracy. The banter between the minority chief whip and the Speaker of Parliament, some say it's unhealthy, but some say it's unhealthy for our democracy. Among other things that you want to say, just so you don't forget to touch on that as well when you are making your summation on what happened in Parliament.
Well, thank you very much. I think the banter between the members of Parliament and the Speaker, to the extent that it falls within the rules governing procedures in Parliament, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. That is fine.
The reason why I'm rising within a certain context. Now you have a Speaker of Parliament who is a member of the NDC. Ordinarily, people would expect that because we're all comrades, okay, you should treat me with some kid gloves. You also give me some special, dispensation of a sort.
Well,
so it came to some people as a surprise.
Yeah, and because of that disposition, rather, it puts the Speaker in a very interesting fix. So sometimes where it's a 50-50 balance, the Speaker may rather want to tilt towards the majority in Parliament because of that notion that, listen, you're a comrade, you are with the NDC. And so the Speaker finds himself in that dilemma. But coming to the issues being raised. Now, you see, the issue about the fact that some of the issues being raised by the minority caucus are matters that are candidates for the court and not necessarily Parliament, for me, appears quite weak in my mind because you can have issues that same issues may be civil or criminal. And so you would have to choose which platform to go. Again, for instance, you can have issues that you may decide whether to go on arbitration or choose even the litigation path.
Right.
So same issues, same evidence, but you choose which path to take. And in this case, you need to adduce evidence to why you'd want to, the Minister of Finance moved out. And so the evidence you adduce, it doesn't matter whether the evidence is subject or a candidate for the court or is a subject for parliamentary proceeding. Regardless, you are relying on that as the evidence for which you think that the Speaker, the Minister of Finance ought to be sacked. You get it? So it must be in court. It is not, the place for parliament and all that doesn't hold, really. You are canvassing that evidence in support of your case. And that is a platform you've chosen. You are in parliament anyway. And this is all you can do. Again, you see, when you listen to the majority group, and I listen to Slide clearly, that, of course, they expect the president to sack the finance minister or the minister himself resigns. It's very interesting because I think the implication is that the majority group believes that whatever is happening in the country today may not only be as a result of external factors. Because if they are as a result of external factors, why even call on the minister to resign? You are asking the minister to resign or the president to sack him because you think his actions or inaction might have contributed to the current situation.
That's an interesting point.
So that's an inherent admission. Now listen, this whole issue about external factors contributing to what we are faced with today may not be the case, for which reason the majority in parliament today are calling on the president to sack the minister. In other words, the speaker may have, the minister may have contributed to what is happening now.
True.
So we can blame the minister. That's what the majority group is saying. Now, let's even interrogate the basis of the majority group. It's a clear case of the economic hardship we're going through now, and what they think in their minds that the Minister of Finance hasn't managed the issues very well. Now, when you look at the grounds, the last three, the E talks about fiscal recklessness leading to the crash of the Ghana cedis, which is currently the worst performing currency in the world. I find it difficult on how the majority would say they disagree with this. That the cedi is crashing. Perhaps the issue about fiscal recklessness is what may be their challenge. But again, it is the minister's action and inaction that has led to this. You can so choose to describe it as a recklessness or not. But in substance, I find it difficult if the majority says we disagree with this ground. Again, gross mismanagement of the Ghanaian economy, which has occasioned untold and unprecedented hardship. Same majority group that their constituents have been calling on them. Now listen, things are hard. The hardship is real. I said it here last week, that today someone calls you for 500 Ghana cedis. 3 days after, the person calls you again. It's not as though the person thinks you have money, but it's the reality of the day that the person is struggling. And that is the hardship we are talking about. And the majority agrees with this. For which reason they are calling on the president to sack the minister or the minister resigns by himself. So there are some grounds here that clearly I find it difficult on what basis the majority will say we disagree with the minority on this.
So you're saying that all this talk about the fact that the minority have an ulterior motive is neither here nor there.
Let's interrogate the grounds. That's it. Now F, alarming incompetence and frightening ineptitude, resulting in the collapse of the Ghanaian economy and an excruciating cost of living crisis. If you have contributed to the hardship we are seeing, how best can it be described than to say you are inept, you are incompetent? So I find it difficult again on what basis the majority will say we disagree with the minority on this, when you have even been calling on the president to sack him or the minister resign because of these things. Now again, another which may more be of a constitutional matter or legal matter, all constitutional withdrawals from the consolidated fund in blatant contravention of Article 178 of the Constitution. When you read 178, 2 says, no monies shall be withdrawn from any public fund other than the consolidated fund and the contingency fund unless the issue of those monies has been authorized by or under the authority of an act of parliament.
Yeah.
You can easily verify this. He's a member of parliament. We'll simply ask that at the point these monies were issued, indeed we saw the letters, authorized by the Minister of Finance. So he authorized it. Was there any parliamentary approval to these monies? I mean, these things are easily verifiable. So we shouldn't, gloss over these issues. Let's pick the issues one by one, interrogate the issues. And you come to the realization that it's going to be difficult, if not on partisan corridor games and what have you, to disagree on the issues we have here. Now, you say you want...
Then, based on everything you've just said, then it means that the work of the petitioners is going to be very easy because you're saying that the evidence is everywhere.
I find it difficult to say where are the documents, where is the evidence. You see, there is what we call lawfarism, where this whole cliche of go to court, where is the evidence, where are the documents? We use it to obfuscate the issues. So people's attention are quickly drifted from the core issues that needs interrogation, that needs verification, to some other reasonings that would now make the issue look like, well, you don't even have a case. But when you pick the issues one by one, any reasonable man on the street, when you explain this to the trotro driver on the streets, clearly will come to the conclusion that, listen, where is the difficulty in the majority and minority agreeing on these matters? Right. But more importantly, the majority group says, we are asking the president to sack the finance minister. That's a fact, no doubt. Again, or the minister of finance resigns by himself. Sly just mentioned that. Now, so ultimately, or in effect, you don't want the minister of finance to be there. And the big question is, what will be the effect of a censure? He'll be out. So you are arriving at the same outcome, the same goal. If you say you disagree with the grounds, I've just listed some of majority of the grounds to you. Clearly, which makes it difficult for anyone to disagree. The majority's basis and that of the minority clearly are not at par. That can't be the case at all. But I continued reflecting, and I was like, so how about, for instance, this whole issue of censure is against Amewu, for instance, the Minister for Railways.
The MP for Hohoi, the Minister for
Railways, right?
Yes.
Would it have been the case that the executive would not come in with such posture of defense? And recall when the group of 88, is it 88 or 86? 86 had the press release, the press statement, and mentioned that they did all they could, including engaging the party hierarchy, engaging all the stakeholders that matter in the party to ensure that their demands are met. But it never happened. What it means is that the entire establishment is in support, in defense of the finance minister. You get it? So, assuming this were to be Amewu, for instance, would the posture change? If yes, the posture may change. What may account for that? Is it the case that you are touching one of our own from the establishment? And for that matter, regardless of the issues, the evidence you lay bare, we are still going to ensure that we protect it. I mentioned here 2 weeks ago, that I think the group of 86 is not only about the group of 86, but the entire majority group. And then a few days after, the majority leader came out. Now listen, they support everything that is going on.
Including the Honorable Sylvester Mensah.
Precisely. So I see a case of the executive, the presidency feeling that, listen, you're coming at us by coming at the finance minister. And we must do all we can to ensure that we protect him. And this is what I expect the majority group to know, that, listen, it may not happen today. that the president asking the minister to sacking the minister, or the minister on his own volition resigning. It won't happen. The easiest route is this, which is essential, because it's going to create the same effect, the same outcome. Sure. And the issues, the reasons adduced, perhaps what may be a bit tricky is the first one, despicable conflict of interest, ensuring that he directly benefits from Ghana's economic woes as his companies. I mean, we say today that he's no more a director of the company. We know for a fact that anytime Ghana goes into any borrowing arrangement, his company is one, or his former company is one of the transaction advisors. And so they have their commission that they take. Anytime you go to borrow, this happens. As we speak, we can say he's a constructive director, because he still may have an interest in the company, though on paper he has resigned. When he exits government, it's so easy for him to come back. It's so easy. And this is his baby. He birthed this years back, data bank, I mean. So when you interrogate the issues, it's so difficult not understanding why, and clearly you see it when you listen to or you read the NPP statement, for instance, and they see this as a partisan engagement. And they admitted in the statement on, I think, the last paragraph, that whatever Ghanaians have said about the economy are legitimate concerns. That is what the NPP as a party. Now, the last paragraph. The leadership of the NPP wishes to assure our members of parliament and the Ghanaian populace that there are ongoing internal engagements aimed at addressing legitimate concerns expressed by various stakeholders regarding the management of the economy, including calls for the resignation or dismissal of the Minister for Finance.
Yes.
So the party says those are legitimate concerns.
Yes, but they add that there are already internal processes which have already kickstarted to address that issue. So NDC, stay out.
Right. You see. Now listen.
We'll deal with this ourselves.
Unfortunately.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
Yes.
The issue about the work of the finance minister is not a matter for only the NPP.
Valid
not
point.
at all.
Valid point.
Indeed, it is a matter for every Ghanaian.
Valid
because
point.
its action or inaction affects our living conditions.
Absolutely.
It affects my movement from my house to my office. And so you can't say that, leave us alone, we are having our own internal mechanisms to address these issues. When already Apia Kubi and co have mentioned that, listen, we've tried several times. Could even this be an afterthought?
Okay.
Now listen, the heat is on now.
Right, wonderful.
What do we do?
Let me do this. Let me read some messages. We'll take a short break. When we come back, I'll ask a question, because we've also seen the famous 86. They held a news conference just before Parliament, parliamentary, business started. Now they're asking the president not to make any attempt to ask the finance minister, or not to ask the finance minister to come and present the budget. We don't know what the implication of that would be. So we'll look at that as well. And so, Abdallah, if that press conference video is ready, we'll play it after the break. But let me just do this quickly before we go on break. So I've just had a message from Simons. Simons is the leader of the parliamentary press corps. He's just sent us a message. Now he says, anytime, it's a more good morning. It's a good morning, Moro, great conversation. Anytime the speaker asks that the Hansard expounds a statement from an MP, it is deemed that the MP has not said anything or has spoken on the day. So he said it will not be captured in the Hansard. So does it mean that the speaker's directive for it to be expunged will not even be captured in the Hansard? Is that what you're saying? Simon, maybe you may have to come again. Yeah. But he wants me to ask an honorable, Ajasa finally has taken a seat in Parliament. Ask the MP whether they will withdraw their suit against her. So I'll come back to you on that. Simon's
against
yes. There's an attempt to get her out per the committee's report. And then let me look at this. This one here says, good morning. If the claims raised by the minority are true, then what stops them from backing it with evidence? They should allow the embattled minister to defend himself since most of the allegations raised by the minority are serious criminal offenses. Adroit Joshua, Ablekuma Central. Good morning. Please tell the man that we have totally disappointed the majority. I'm a member of the MPP in Central Gonja. And this one says, Moro, please ask Honorable Tete what his constituents told him about the finance minister and what they want and why they want to remove. Charlie, why do you want to put him on there? Say do. From Wale Wale. And this one here says, the condemnation of the finance minister will bring no enhancement into our economy. It is the president whose incompetence is collapsing the economy since he can't remove the people from office who are underperforming. The president will take the glory if the economy is doing well and must be impeached and removed from office. Reverend Samuel Asamoah Ochre sends that message. Reverend, you didn't tell us where you're sending us the message from. And this one says, hi, I'm Nathaniel. What evidence does my brother need to know that Ken must go? Doesn't he check inflation, exchange rate, and high cost of living? This will not happen in a country that wants the betterment of its citizens. And Tony from I'm going to end with this. Is national service still necessary in these times? I say this because most of our workplaces are choked. Some regular workers don't even have permanent seats in their offices. I want to suggest that service personnel should be sent to only rural areas to teach, and that should be it. So I have about 20 more messages, but I can't read because we need to take a message. And then when I come back, a very, very prominent man has sent me a message, but I can't mention his name, but I'll read the message. And so that's what we'll do. So let's take a break. We'll be right back.
What the constitutional provision says, but at least it is appropriate the presentation would have been the Minister for Finance. But that question is so important because we have heard some of our colleagues from your side who have publicly threatened that they will boycott Parliament if the Minister for Finance appears to present the budget. So as the Minister, as the leader of the House and Minister for Parliamentary Business, it is imperative you tell us whether the embroidered Minister for Finance would appear to present the budget, or at least your good self. Because I realized when you presented, you enjoyed it. We all loved it.
To that question lies in Article 179.
Oh, but why are you relying on Article 179? He wants you to move beyond the article.
Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, I'm not Octopus Paul. So I cannot pretend to know who the president is going to nominate to do the presentation of the budget.
It will not be pretense. You have already told us that you contacted the minister, and the minister said if the House is interested in the budget statement being presented on the 23rd instead of 24th, which, as Wayumi was trying to draw attention, is the first match that nationally will be playing at the World Cup. So you have something beyond constitutional provisions. You have personal contact with the ministers, and he wants to know whether you have done that in connection with this issue and who will be coming, whether your good self or any other minister.
Mr. Speaker, the honorable colleague wants to fast track our steps to the bridge. We'll move in normal pace. When we get to the bridge, we shall cross it.
Well, interesting. I won't call it a banter, but interaction with that's the majority leader and the Honorable Speaker of Parliament, Alban Sumana Bagwin. Let me read this message from Audu Mahama of the Custodian newspaper. He says, "Good morning, my brother. I am watching your interesting program. Please read Article 82.5 of the 1992 Constitution. I think the vote of censure is a fruitless venture because ultimately, it is the call of the majority that will prevail." That's what he says. Now, let me read this one from Kamala Amasaman Bruni of the New Patriotic Party. He says, Moro, but for propaganda gains, the vote of censure by the minority MPs is clearly a wild goose chase. This same NDC MPs defended Setekwe when Ghanaians called for his removal. And I'm sure Honorable would allow this to lie. He said the same NDC MP defended Setekwe when Ghanaians called for his removal by former President Mahama. But here we are today pretending to be more Catholic than the Pope. The majority has initiated their own process to get the finance minister out, and they shall surely accomplish their mission in due course. That's from Kamal Amasam Bruni. And this one here from Papa Bisu, he says that, hey, Papa, your message is very long. It says, it's a good morning, my brother. Hypocrisy and deceitfulness are the hallmarks of the MPP relative to governance, leading to majority of Ghanaians suffering. They promised Ghanaians heaven from their fathers and grandfathers, that's in Nkrumah's time, to date to get power. But in the end, we do experience hell under this rule. What at all is Ken Ofori that the president is not ready to sack him? Question is, and it's a begging question, do we have hard-earned taxpayers' cash secretly in an offshore account known only to both the president and Ken Ofori? He's asking a question. And is yet to mature in the interest of, and in the interest of what? And something. Only the two or something. Okay, I didn't quite get that. So probably so you can come again because I didn't quite get that message. Anyway, so Honorable, you have some responses you want to give. If you can do this briefly, because we really are hard pressed for time.
No,
yes.
you see, no, I mean, yes. I think it's unfortunate that two against me on.
Remember, you started. You've had a lot of time. Yes.
Let me make it clear.
Okay, right.
That the minority don't mean well.
Okay.
Because the reasons that we're calling for Ken Ofori to go, live in it, we know it, and we are convinced by it. That is why it started with 80 plus members of parliament. Now it is a caucus decision.
That's the reasons.
Some borders on internal party matters, we won't divulge it. It doesn't mean on that basis you come with frivolous allegations and want us to support you. We won't do that.
Some borders on internal party. How about the others?
Please, it's administrative. Look, exigency of the time. For instance, if you have a governance, there are components that makes the government. And at any time, the fact that somebody resigns or leaves government doesn't mean the person has committed a crime. And there are examples all over the world.
I agree.
So that is, people should respect that. That the fact that you ask that somebody should leave governance or government doesn't mean the person has committed a crime. And when we are asking for him to leave, doesn't mean you impugn that he's committed a crime as you are suggesting. And that's the reason why we won't support you. We've made that point clear. On the basis of the letter the party authored. Look, even before the letter came, I disagree with the sharing of that letter or uttering that letter to the majority group. But the content of the letter, we appreciate it. And the same position of the majority. Why? We have a whip system and leadership. Members, leadership of the party, sometimes sit in our meeting, our caucus meeting in parliament. So they could have communicated that to us directly. Why that pressure? On that score, I disagree with the party for uttering that pressure.
Right.
But the content of the letter, we appreciate it so much. And that's the position of the majority. So the fact that you ask somebody to leave government or president make change doesn't mean the person has committed any crime. So you cannot put criminal matters on the man and say, join us to get him out of office. We won't do that. He hasn't done that. Look, in any case, they are talking of, we have monetary policy and fiscal policy. Okay? In this country, check the Bank of Ghana Act and the role of the finance minister and all that. I don't want to go into all that. But let me tell you, this exercise that the minority is embarking on, they know it won't get anywhere. Because ultimately you come to the floor and you need 2/3 of members of parliament to get it passed. 48 members of the majority, you won't get it today or tomorrow. So why wasting everybody's time if it's not to meet your propaganda aims and agendas?
Yeah, but the finance minister won't resign. The president won't sack him. You have a fine opportunity to come together with the minority to get him. You say,
look, you are at the hospital and the doctor has said that maybe you will die in a week's time or a month's time. Then somebody say, put a gun on your head and shoot you to death. And you say, all die, they die. You will die anyway. So you have to take an early lead. That's wrong. We won't do that.
Okay.
So whether the finance minister will go or not, the conversations we have with the president and internal arrangement, you may not be privy to it. And we won't share that with you. But the point is that the matters they are raising that borders on criminality, we disagree and we'll fight them on it on any day. Look, economic hardship may not necessarily mean that the finance minister single-handedly or caused it. We had worse economic situations in this country before. They had defended people in government at that time. They had defended people. So where lies their credibility in calling for the head of the finance minister? And the issues there, look, if you think the finance minister has illegally withdrawn money from the consolidated fund, when was that? How many years ago? What motions did you file on the floor of the House? Or questions have you asked the finance minister? If you had not come out with the presser, would they have come out for these reasons to get a censure and get him out? slept on their job. Look, were they not in Parliament in March 2022 when the finance minister came to Parliament and told us that we suffered 6.8% of our budget, how do we call it? Budget deficit as a result of low revenue mobilization, 13.1 billion, and over expenditure as a result of COVID of 14.2 billion. Put it together, it's about 6.8%. They were there. They brought the finance minister came to explain the reason why we are where we are. The minority demanded for it. Why didn't they ask the finance minister to come to the floor and answer why he could take money illegally from the consolidated fund? They haven't been able to do it. There's no basis for what they are calling for. So for me, what we are doing as majority caucus, in any case, nobody should think that because we knew they were coming with a motion, that is why we hurriedly put up the presser. That cannot be true.
Michael asked a question. He says, all this while, what you have been telling Ghanaians is that the reason why the economy is in the state in which it is because of external factors, or what we call exogenous factors.
Fantastic.
Why have you made a turnaround?
But
and now saying that Ken is to be blamed for the economic situation.
You are getting it wrong. If you have a difficulty,
yes,
difficult times,
for difficult measures.
Yes. And who to put at what point? Somebody could be brought in just to shepherd the process and leave.
No, but if they are due to external factors, will it matter who you put there?
Please, don't get it wrong.
Okay.
In the UK,
yes.
Look at the American midterm elections.
Yes.
In the UK,
yes.
How many prime ministers have they lost as a result of this? Does it mean they are all bad people they've committed?
We can end there. That's a good point. Please. That's a good point. Honorable, Makpabu Fai, we have 5 minutes. Otherwise, they'll cut us off. I don't know how you're going to do this because you have to split the fights with Michael.
Oh, that's not fair.
I know. It's one of the challenges, but we'll work on it. Please bear with us. We'll work on it. Please bear with us. Please go ahead.
Only if they want to avoid or pelting of tomatoes and eggs on their faces. They want to avoid that. Of course, I am not advocate. I've condemned this booing and hooting stuff. I incurred the wrath of
constituents.
A number of my young colleagues in my party. But of course, I saw it being done against my party leader when he was president. I wasn't happy about it. And I am not going to be happy because we are not talking about the individuals involved. We are talking about the presidency, the seat. And we cannot denigrate the seat when we also want to one day ascend that seat. So if they want to avoid the pelting of all these things, or for it, the booing to aggravate to that level, because if they had heeded the calls of Ghanaians a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, for the resignation of Ken Ofori, and by extension, the Bank of Ghana Director General, I am sure they would have avoided this booing spree all over the place. They called for it, and they should be careful. If they are going to continue in this pussyfooting manner on this matter, trust me, I wouldn't be surprised that one day we'll be pelting our own president and some political functionaries with stones.
Okay.
That would be my
concluding remarks. Okay. Yeah. All right, Michael.
Right. So thank you. Safe to say that, so Sly talks about the fact that the reasons they would want the finance minister sacked or he resigned are more internal, party matters. But again, when you listen to the press statement, or the press statement by the 86.
Some of them.
86, they mentioned, for instance,
some of them borders on.
We are, by this medium, communicating our strong desire that the president changes the minister of finance, blah, 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 blah. And basically, it's about the economy. That's what they mentioned in their press statement. So we know that largely it's about, they never even mention internal party matters, as he is mentioned publicly now. So we know it's about the economy. And you see, we must be seen to be sensitive to the plight of Ghanaians. And let's be, real to the fact, basically. I know sometimes on the corridors of politics we want to be partisan and all that, but I think that anything even about criminality, that the issue about the consolidated funds, money is being moved to support the National Cathedral, that when did this happen and why was the minority quiet and all that? There is no expiry date to criminal issues, criminal matters. And so you can raise it at any point in time. And so if the minority is raising it today, it doesn't mean that it has no substance. Not at all. It does. Finally, he talked about Ghanaians having or appealing to Ghanaians to adjust their lifestyles. It is true, we have to adjust our lifestyles. But again, in every society, leadership is cause, everything else is effect. As the president and the executive, the government for that matter, willing to equally adjust their lifestyles? If you care to know, for instance, the cost of running the presidency alone has ballooned several, and you ask yourself.
It should be fair to look
so the adjustment must start from the executive.
It must start from the executive. Get to the communications department at the presidency. Some duplication of roles and all, even the ministries in our own neighboring countries. They've been doing this. Listen, they've been cutting down the size of government. So do something that is visible, that is tangible, that we can see that President Nana Akufo-Addo is serious about we adjusting our lifestyles, is serious about we looking at our expenditure patterns. In fact, it is the expenditure patterns of government that indeed even affects the ordinary man's expenditure. So when you're asking me to look at my expenditure and you are not taking any drastic measures to look at your expenditure nationally, then that's a problem. You're not true to yourself.
Michael, isn't it dangerous to do that? Because but they have the resources not to decide not to manage it. But do you have the resources to say you won't manage yours because they are not managing theirs?
No, whatever they do affects my resources.
Yeah, no, but so then if the suspicion that they are living large, then you should be living large.
Come again?
If the suspicion is that they are living large, then you should be living large as well.
What they are doing is affecting me. That's why they are calling on me to adjust my lifestyle. So they must all equally adjust.
Dr. Abdallah says that much as the outcome may be the same, the allegations by the minority for the censure are not the reason by the majority to have a minister removed. Dr. Abdallah, thank you very much for sending us that message. I want to thank you very much for watching today's edition of Inside Pages. It's been wonderful. My resource persons, have been great, have been brilliant. My name is Al Dumoro. Thanks for watching. Same time, Saturday, 8 o'clock. Tell a friend to tell a friend. We'll be right back. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.